Doing good, doing good. Good day, all. This is Charles Gates, host of Local Legislator Live Raw Interview Series. Today, our guest is the one and only Elliot Eddy, entrepreneur, speaker, author, and inventor, an all around good guy. Welcome to our Raw session today. And again, we are locallegislator.net, where our mission is to be the premier source inf- of local elected information in the United States and an advocate for the sustainability of local businesses nationwide. We do call this raw interviews because we don't edit it. This is live, and if we mess it up, we just keep on rolling. So welcome, Elliot. How are you, sir?
Oh man, I'm doing great. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I appreciate the invite, Mr. Gates.
No doubt, no doubt. You were definitely a man of action, that is for sure. But I tell you what, we're going to jump right into this interview by starting off by telling us how your journey in the business world began.
Well, as a youngster, I think there were some things inside of me that made me want to do a little bit more. I grew up in the Bronx in pretty much a economically depressed area. Uh, the jobs that I saw around, they were good. Plenty of people had jobs, but I didn't think that they allowed me to be able to use my full potential. So I knew that there was something else in me that I wanted to do, although I couldn't express it at the time. And as I grew older and learned more about entrepreneurship and learned more about the fact that I could make my own way, I could be paid based on what I brought to the table, based on what my ideas would generate. It sort of led me in the direction of wanting to have my own instead of just wanting to be a producer for someone else.
Okay. Now, Eddie, you wear a lot of hats. You produce, you speak, you also do tax preparation. Now, what do you offer to your clients from a tax preparation standpoint? I know you do K1s, but why doesn't everyone offer that?
Taxes is something else. When you look at the tax industry, the tax industry is basically the tax law is about 60,000 pages and it changes every single year. And in order to do a lot of these things, a lot of the more advanced things in taxes, you have to actually study. You have to, study your craft. You have to go back in and take classes. Normally, you're supposed to take, although it's not regulated, you're supposed to take a certain number of hours of class every year. And that's going to be on different aspects of taxes, whether it's new law, whether it's business law, business tax law, any of those things. You're supposed to take classes in there so that you can be up on the latest thing. Now, things like K1s, when you're doing a S corporation or C corporations or LLCs or partnerships, those are a little bit more advanced. And not everybody does it because that goes beyond just data entry. You have to actually have some knowledge of taxes and some knowledge of what you're trying to provide for your clients, what the end game is, to be able to do those papers and give your clients the best position on their taxes. For me, it's really about competence, superior customer service, and respect. When I put those, anybody can really do taxes because now everything is online. So really, a lot of tax preparers are just data entry people. But I think what sets me apart is that I actually, number one, I'm competent because I take my classes and I study. I study it very, very much so I can stay up on what's happening. Superior customer service. I think that everybody has a right to understand what their tax situation is, what taxes mean, what I'm putting on line one, what your W-2s mean, how does that affect, how much you make affect how much taxes you pay, what kind of deductions can you get to give yourself a best position. I think people need to know those things because it makes a difference in their lives and their livelihoods and what they're able to do financially. And of course, respect. People want respect. And I think that is a terrible thing when you do anything, taxes or anything else, and you don't give people the proper respect as a human being to let them know that, you are an individual. And in this case, I'm working for you and I'm trying to produce something for your benefit. And I think that's what sets me aside. But, studying what's coming down the pike is a big thing as far as doing taxes.
Hmm. Now, and I would tell you, Eddie, for me, the trust factor is numero uno. I have to be able to trust a tax preparer before I'm able to turn over those documents. So that's that's
Mm-hmm.
that's a definite caveat.
Absolutely.
Now you're also into real estate investment. Tell us
Yeah.
more about that. How does that work? And what are some of the major differences between commercial and real estate investing that perhaps our listeners don't know in terms of which way do I go? I want to get into real estate, but I don't know which way to turn. Where should they go?
Okay. So real estate, man, I got into real estate because I got into it from playing Monopoly when I was a kid. I always wanted to invest in real estate. As I got a little older, I started learning about what real estate was. Now, for me, I do something a little different than the average person. So I invest in distressed properties, which means properties that have been either left to the side. Maybe someone has a grandmother that passed away and that property has been sitting there forever and nobody wants to do anything about it, or it's in another state. It's depressed, meaning that you have to go in and do some sort of rehab to it in order to make it, put it on the market and make it exciting and sellable on the market. Now, myself, I deal with something called tax sales. Not a lot of people know about tax sales. Tax sales is a way that I use to be able to buy property for pennies on the dollar. To give you an example, I think it was about a year ago, a little over a year ago, I bought a property that was in Virginia. It was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-story house sitting on a quarter acre of land. I paid the assessed value. It was distressed, so it had been sitting there for 10 years. The assessed value at the time, without it being fixed up, was a little bit under $60,000. I paid $3,000 for the house. Went inside, fixed it up, and because I didn't want to be too much bothered in it, I sold that one at an auction and made quite a bit more than what I paid for it. So the idea that I go into is buying properties that are distressed and that are sitting on the market through tax sales. Now you have, of course, in that you also have residential properties and you have commercial properties. Basically, the difference between the two in what I do is only the usage of the property, whether it's zoned for residential, meaning that someone can live in it and stay in it, or whether it's zoned for commercial, meaning somebody can actually do business inside that property for my purposes. And then going into it now, as far as how I approach it, it's not really very much of a difference. You do your research, finding out the information that's in the public record, which is available to anyone. You go to the houses and you actually do your in-person inspection. So you want to look at things like what does the foundation look like? What does the roof look like? If you can get inside, that's a great help. If you can't get inside, sometimes you can't get inside. So you have to get as much information about it as you can. Who was the last person that lived there? How long has it been sitting? What those things look like. Take a peek through the windows if you can to get a feel for the possibilities of what you need to spend in order to get it back into great shape so that you can sell it or you can rent it. Now, always keep in mind when you're going to do these things. I also do foreclosed properties. When you go to do these things, always keep in mind that in real estate, you make money when you buy, you lose money when you sell. So, for example, the property that I've kept, I was able to put people into it. So it's an investment property. I've had it for a number of years. People pay rent on it. So the property is free and clear of all liens. Plus I have income coming in. So I have the equity that's in the house and I have a positive cash flow from it. As opposed to the one I just mentioned that I sold. Even though I sold it and made a profit, that profit is gone. That house is gone. So I can't reap the benefits of that anymore. So keep that in mind when you're looking at doing real estate and you're looking at purchasing houses versus selling them.
That's some really good information, Eddie. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, you and our relationship goes back to Toastmasters International. Of course, we had to
Yes.
mention that here in this forum. You also participated in the World Champion of Public Speaking contest. Could you tell us more about how that process worked and what did that mean to you?
Wow, that's a very exciting time. It's a major milestone in my life. So Toastmasters, first of all, I would tell anybody who's interested in public speaking or just learning how to get your own thoughts together to be able to express yourself or to others. Toastmasters is a great organization. I joined Toastmasters looking for something to do. In there, I met a number of great people, yourself and one person that I call my mentor. Her name is Linda Kennedy, and a ton of people that just poured into my life. She was the first one that actually saw something in me. I did my little speeches. She saw something in me that I had no idea was in me. And how important these things are is at one point, I actually left. Before I started competing, I left Toastmasters. I got upset over some particular thing in it. It had nothing to do with Toastmasters. Well, had nothing to do with any people or anything, but it was something that I couldn't get past, and I left. And Linda Kennedy actually came back, between my wife and Linda Kennedy, they actually came back to me and got me back into it. My Linda Kennedy saw something in me and she just wouldn't let it go. She saw that this could benefit me in a way. And my wife, she's always supported me from day one, so she knew that this would be a great thing for me. But she also knew my personality, that I wasn't just going to give it up and go back. So those two conspired and came up with a plan on how to get me back in. But anyway, I got back in, and then I found out about this competition, the World Championship of Public Speaking. This is where you have 30,000 plus individual public speakers from around the world that go through head-to-head competitions, speaking competitions of 5 to 7 minutes, and you dwindle it down until you get to the top 10 speakers in the world. And then those top 10 speakers go to a location, and they begin to compete against each other for first, second, third, as far as who wins that particular year. I competed and made it to the semifinals twice. One time I made it to the actual finals, one of the top 10 speakers in the world. And it was an incredible experience, man. Just the number one, to get there after 6 months of competing is an incredible thing. And then, you know, the experience of being there, speaking in front of, I think in the audience in person might have been 3,500 people. And then you had a couple of 100,000 that was watching online, and, you know, just being amongst some other great speakers, past and present, and being able to stand there and hold my own and be able, and the main thing was to be able to get across a message, something important that I felt need to be said and shared with the world. And I was actually able to do that. How many times do we get a chance to take something that is meaningful to us and really share it on a large stage? And it was just, you know, it opened up a lot of things for my life, but it was just one of the most incredible experiences that I've had.
And I can share with our listeners that I was there with Eddie doing both of those competitions, and I tell you what, you were a winner. You were number one in my book in both different time zones.
Thank you.
To our listeners, if you like the interview you're seeing right now, check us out on YouTube and our Facebook pages. Like us, comment, and subscribe. Now, Eddie, you've been an award-winning speaker for a while. How has that helped you in becoming a thriving business owner?
Well, I think the number one thing is confidence. So I was always a confident young man. I always believed that, you know, I can give anything a try and that I could do very well at it. When I added the speaking component to it, especially the competition actually helped amp up my confidence, if that's even possible, to let me know that I could be on stage and I could compete with the best of them. And not only that, but I could win. And even in the few times that I did not win, to know that I can go out there and do my best, and I was respected. You know, I wasn't just tossed to the side. So that did a lot for my confidence. But I think the main thing that it did was allow me to understand that the thoughts that I had in my mind, the plans that I had in my mind, that I could put them in an orderly fashion and I could express those. I could express it on paper. I could express it in front of a crowd. And I think that's one of the scariest, but one of the most rewarding things that people can do. You know, a lot of people have some great ideas. We like to call people stupid or inept a lot of times, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Sometimes it's just a matter of having all this information in your head, but not being able to find a way to convey that to other people, not being able to express yourself the way you want. You know, you can have this $1 million idea in your head, but when it comes out of your mouth, it seems like a $20 idea. And that hampers a lot of people because it stops them from wanting to express, and it stops them from wanting to achieve the things that they can achieve, because they find that in themselves they have some part of them that has let them down. And that's why it's important. That's why public speaking is important. Learning how to express yourself is important. What it did for me was allow me to know that, you know what, no matter what the stage, no matter what nationality I'm speaking to, no matter who it is, older or younger, no matter who it is in front of me or how many it is in front of me, I do have the ability of expressing myself clearly, so that I can not only get across an idea, but get across a perspective, a feeling, you know, get across something that wants to motivate, inspire, educate. I can do all of those things. And that's really what the competitions helped me do, helped me realize within myself.
Oh, that is quite indeed a fantastic feat. And just to think, you stepped away at one point. I did not know that. That is very interesting to hear. Now, Eddie, you describe yourself as an entrepreneur, inventor, best-selling author, motivational speaker, and kingdom builder. Can you elaborate more about the kingdom building?
Absolutely. So, I do a lot of different things, but what I found out about myself along the journey is what my major purpose was, what my major assignment is. I teach entrepreneurship all the time, can teach you how to do it from start to beginning, from start to end. But what I found out about myself is that there was more, upon my study. And I found out that things like, we are spiritual beings that live inside of a natural body on this earth. And a lot of times when we think that there's something missing in us, something that depresses us, a lot of times people go to different vices to try to fill a hole. That hole is usually our connection with our Father, with the kingdom of heaven, with the spiritual portion of our existence. What I consider myself as a kingdom builder, what that means is I am a repairer of the breach. I am a person that goes around to restore things to its original nature. Now, I believe that God Jehovah created everything, and that He created us, and He put something special in each one of us. But when we don't have that connection to Him, we're really selling ourselves short, and we're not really fulfilling our total potential. So me, myself, I like to go around and give information on a lot of different things, but I like to connect it to our original source. And to me, that's building the kingdom of God, but also building the kingdom of God through people, having them understand who they are, really, truly, the truth, not just the facts, but the truth of who they are, and then having them understand the relationship between them and the kingdom of heaven, and really having that be a part of their life so that they can grow and do immeasurably above what they ever thought was possible. I hope that makes
Go
sense.
above and beyond. That makes a lot of sense. That makes sense. Now, there's a game that seems to be propped up in your corner behind you. I know that was on purpose.
Yes, it was.
Talk to us about that game that you invented and why it has exploded in popularity.
Wow. So the game is called The Entrepreneur Game by E.E. Speaks, and you'll see a copy of it right here. It is a STEM-based, STEM-accredited board game that teaches entrepreneurship. So right after I came back from the World Championship of Public Speaking, I started going to the Richmond Public Library to teach entrepreneurship to the youth. My class would be full of 8-year-olds to 18-year-olds and their parents. I'm going around the room one day and I'm asking the children, what type of business would you like to open? And I came across this one young man who said, I can't open a business. You have to be special to open a business, and I'm not special. The young man was 14 years old. It broke my heart because that was too early to already count yourself out. Besides the fact he knew how to fix bikes, so he already had a business, a no overhead business, which is great. What it did is it caused me to say, okay, if this one child feels that way, there are millions of children that this represents. I love entrepreneurship. I think everybody should have an entrepreneurial streak in them. They should have a business, even though they don't always have it, but this is just the way I think. So I said, well, how can I teach children around the world that they not only have the ability to become an entrepreneur, but they have it in their minds that they can actually do it. And then I thought about board games. I love board games when I was coming up. Monopoly, I love my favorite game. Got me interested in real estate. Didn't teach me how to do it, but it got me interested enough that when I got older, I got into real estate. So I decided to design a board game that would teach children and adults how to start and create their own home base or brick and mortar business, how to learn how to market and invest, negotiate, communicate, make decisions, how to use all of the 21st century skills that are available to better themselves, to become a producer and not just a consumer. And let them do it in a way that was fun and let them imagine the steps from beginning to end. I did that. I came up with the game, and people have just loved it because what I've done through the game is I was able to put the power back into the hands of the people. When I was growing up, a lot of things people would say, oh, I can't do this because the man is stopping you. The man is stopping you. And although there are things that are out in the world that are preventative, and we're finding that out now by all of the talk of systematic racism and all that's going on. we also have it within ourselves to overcome a lot of things if we won't give up and if we'll just push. And if we can imagine it, if we can imagine it and take that out of our head and really put it in our heart, we can do that. And that's what the game was about. It was about getting the idea into your head first, but then taking that imagination and putting it in real terms and something that you can touch and feel. And I think people have taken to that because it puts the power back in their hands to let them know, you know what, I really can do this. You know, I really, really can do this. And so, you know, it's been successful. It's been, you know, purchased in 9 different countries so far. People are buying it. I created 3 other games based on it, and it's doing very well. And I'm really happy about what it's able to contribute to people's lives.
So you're not only empowering, you're creating a paradigm shift and changing the mindset of not only our young people, but adults alike.
Absolutely. You know, and all starts with a mindset, because a mindset is the hardest thing to change, but it's the first thing that has to change in order for someone to grow and someone to do some things that they didn't formerly think was possible. So that's what I am trying to do. You hit the nail on the head. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help people understand that where they are is not where they have to stay. And what they think their potential is their potential is so much far beyond what they've been given credit for so far.
Hmm. Now, you are also a published author. Talk about your new book, Blueprint for Prosperity, Creation, Dispossession, and War. What is it about, and when does it launch?
Absolutely. And the exciting thing, I have the book right here. It just came in like 2 hours ago before this meeting. So I was like,
Really?
oh, this is just saying something. It's got to be on point now. But I love it. This is all right. So this is my 6th book that I've written. 4 out of the 6, 5 of them are how-to books, are self-help books, if you will, and one of them is a fiction book. This book I'm most proud of because this is the result of years of not only education, but information and revelation that was given to me. So I started out with this book to give information to entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, business owners, aspiring business owners, or not just how to create a business, a successful business in this earth, but going back to kingdom building, how to do it according to biblical principles. So I wanted them to know what was provided, you know, because right now, you know, you hear so many people talk about prosperity, and you hear so many people talk about, oh, you could do it and God wants you to have it. And, you know, but just as a regular speaker, my question is always, well, how? What are the step-by-step instructions on how that is done? I appreciate the fact that you're telling me that there's a way been made and that it's possible and exceedingly above what I can think. But how do I get from where I am now to an open business? And what has been provided for me specifically so that I could get there? And that's the question. Those are the questions that I find that people haven't been answering. You know, those are the questions that people need answered in order for them to succeed. So I started out to write this book to give step-by-step instructions. Number one, and when I say merging kingdom business, what I mean is, number one, on this side, I'm giving you information on how to start a business. How do you do a business plan? Why do you need a business plan? How does that fit into the whole mold? And how do you take that business plan, which was something in your head, that you physically wrote down the vision, and then you take the vision and form that in the earth as an actual entity and create a plan around how to make that work, move forward, grow, expand, and eventually turn into an empire. So you had that physical part. But when I began writing it, more of the biblical aspect came into. So when we think about creation and the fact that God created everything, before he wanted to get to the end result, which was man. But in order to create man, he had to create a world, he had to create oxygen, he had to create shrubbery that would convert oxygen and carbon. He had to create water, birds, fish, entire ecosystem. Even inside of man, he had to create respiratory system, excretion systems, a brain, you know, nerves, all of these things that had to be done that he did before he actually created. So what I found out was God had a business plan. You know, he actually sat down and created a business plan on what everything was going to look like before he actually did it. So the creation part is us understanding that when we're connected in that kingdom business, that we are also supposed to create a business plan. And that's not only just the natural side, but that's the spiritual side. You know, dispossession is about going in to dispossess what is there in order to possess it. So a lot of people say, hey, I want to be rich. You know, look at Amazon and say, hey, Amazon, you know, they're top, they're making all the money in the world. I want to go in and be Amazon. Well, that is possible, but how do you do it? Most people just want to go in and say, hey, just give me a platform and I can make it happen. No, you have to have some information behind that. You know, it didn't just pop up one day and say, hey, everybody come sell through me. It takes work in order to dispossess. In order to possess something, you have to dispossess what's there first. I'll give you a basic idea of it. When I was growing up, they told us in school, if you go ahead and pour a tub full of water, and then get in that tub and then notice what happens. Well, when I got into the tub, I noticed that the water rose. Why did it rise? Because in order for me, when I got into it, matter was displaced for me to get in there. So in order for me to have or get into something, I have to displace what is there to make room for myself so that I can have room when I'm in there and all of that stuff be around. So dispossession and war is basically about the fact that these things don't come easy. You know, you don't just walk into, I don't care who you are, you don't just walk into everything and everything is fine. You have to war for what you're going to get. You have to fight for it. You have to put it down and say, look, no matter what, I'm going to get in here, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to win. So it's about, again, about the mindset and about what scriptures have already said that we are provided with, but then also how to do it, how to dispossess, how to go to war, what the war is, so that you have to know your enemy before you can defeat your enemy. So the book right here, I'm so excited about it because it's really about training entrepreneurs on how to create and build a business, but also doing it from a biblical perspective, so we can see that if we operate by the laws that are inside the Bible, how that helps us in doing on earth what was done in the heavens.
And you know what, Eddie? I'm going to use one of your quotes. You have to put in the work.
Yes, just do that work.
You have
do
to
that work.
put in the work. I had never heard God's business plan before. I thought that was very clever. God's business plan. Never heard that before. I should have known that you would bring that to us. God's business plan. Listeners, put in the work. Eddie, one more question for you. What are the best ways to purchase your books, your game, or your services? How can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. I would love to speak to everyone that has an inkling to want to know more information. So for the book is coming out this way. I'm actually releasing the book this weekend. On Sunday, I'm doing a reading, I will be reading 3 chapters out of the book and expounding on them a bit. So you can get a pre-copy of this book. Well, actually, it's not even pre now since I have the book. From my website, eespeaks.com. That's EE like Elliot, Eddie, speaks with an S on it.com. If you go there, what you'll find is not only the book, but you'll find some other services on entrepreneurship, on learning how to become entrepreneurs, whether it's a secular or a biblical perspective. If you need help with it, mentorship, if you need programs, I do virtual training, a whole host of things that you'll find on there, specifically about entrepreneurship, because that's my lane. But you'll find this book on there. You can go on, and the book is only $12. You know, everybody puts out books and they want $20 and $25 and $30 for information that, quite honestly, really should be accessible to everybody. You know, and my goal was not to just go out here and write a book to make a ton of money. Money is nice and it has its place, but I had information that I wanted to get out, so I needed to make it accessible. Of course, if you want the game, the entrepreneur game, you can get it in a few different places. The website, my particular website where you can get it from me, is called educationalgamestore.com. That's educationalgamestore.com. If you go there, you'll find this one. You'll also find a few other educational games. I have an entrepreneur game in Spanish. I have one called Vetrepreneur, which is specifically for veterans coming back and showing them how to get their businesses situated. And I have one version called Rise of the Returning Citizens, which is specifically for incarcerated people or people coming out of incarceration, so that they can learn how to take their talents and skills and turn it into a business, so that we can kind of limit the amount of recidivism that's in the world, or how many people actually go back to prison because they don't have the skills and the wherewithal to continue and supply and take care of their families out here. So you can go to educationalgamestore.com and get it. It's also on Amazon.com. Just look up the Entrepreneur Game. It's also on Walmart.com. You can look up the Entrepreneur Game. Basically, just put in a Google search, the Entrepreneur Game, and you will find it, even if you spell entrepreneur wrong.
Even if you spell it wrong, and that is a difficult
Yeah,
word to spell.
that's a tricky word. You don't realize how tricky that word can be. You get those red lines. That's what, those red lines in the word search,
Oh,
like the teachers used to give you. Just
entrepreneur.
entrepreneur. Yes, you can spell it. You can be it.
let me gain my composure here. I think about that so often. That entrepreneur. It took me forever to spell that word right.
Yes.
But thank you, Eddie. You have given us a barrel of information. And I did not know that I didn't even know you did all those things. And I would ask you that you send all that information to me again so I can put it and help you get out whatever you're doing in all of the different avenues and aspects. You're making a difference, not only in the community, but in the lives of millions of people around the world. So we thank you and really thank you and want to express our appreciation, not for just being here on this show with me, but for doing what you do. And you have been doing it for a long time and will be continuing to do it for a long time coming. So we thank you for that, Eddie. And any last words you want to say to any of our listeners out there?
And I leave all you guys with the same words that I hold so dear. Whatever it is that is inside of you that you want to do, you can do it. If you're willing to put in the work, if you're willing to do the research and put in the time, look, there's nothing that is outside of your reach. So I want you guys to go out there. I want you to be motivated. I want you to take all of those ideas and all of that passion that is inside you and do something with it. Do something with it. Leave a legacy. Help somebody else. Just your ideas put into action is going to not only help the people that will receive it, but it's going to help the people that watch you do it and say, you know what, because they did it, I can do it also. So go out there and fight for your dreams. Don't give up. I don't care who you are, how old you are. Fight for your dreams. Go to war, and you can have whatever it is that you have in your heart that you want. You can achieve it.
Wonderful parting words. Elliott, thank you so much for being here. And guys out there, listeners, if you ever are in doubt of your own abilities, just think of Nike. Just do it. If people are telling you can't do something, just do it anyway. If it doesn't work out, you're going to learn from your mistakes and you won't repeat them again. So just do it. And like Eddie says, put in the work. You must put in the work. Thank you all for being here today. Again, my name is Charles Gates. This is Local Legislator Live Raw Interview Series. And today our guest is the wonderful Elliott Eddy, entrepreneur, author, speaker, and inventor. And there's probably a lot of other things that I did not mention. But we are locallegislator.net. Thank you for being here, where our mission is to be the premier source of local election information in the United States and an advocate for the sustainability of local businesses nationwide. Please like us, subscribe to our channel, and leave us a comment if you want more of this or contents like this, or you want to talk to elected officials, business owners, nonprofit heads in your community. Reach out to us, let us know, and we will do our best to get them on air. Again, thank you very much. Take care, guys, and I will see you on Monday, where our guest will be none other than Ronnie Davis Jr. from Another Level Family Youth Services from Virginia. Take care, guys, and I'll see you then. Elliott, been a pleasure. Take care.
Thank you. The pleasure's mine.